We don't need to make.
Okay, I would like to call the meeting for the permanent manager committee to order at 2:01-ish. 2-ish. Can we have somebody call the roll?
Sure.
That would be great.
Flintoff, here. Terry,
Present.
Noel, here. Riser,
Present.
Monk,
Here.
Grant,
Here.
Yeaple, not yet here. We have quorum.
Okay, so, I had attached, well, actually, let's look at the agenda, I'm sorry.
I would assume we don't have any communications or intros.
Not that I know of. Okay, so, the agenda is out there. We added, the document we've been using that's being marked up with, red highlights. I also gave you a copy of, one that has the strike-throughs taken out, so it decreases the verbiage. So did anybody want to modify or add to the agenda?
I would just, do we want to say remove D, E, and H,
I and J.
and I and J?
Okay, so moved.
Support.
All those in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. So now we are at public comments. Do we have anyone?
We have one member of the public. Pam, did you want to say anything for public comment? If you do, please raise your hand. No, no hands raised.
Okay, good. And then we have the approval of the draft meeting minutes from the last meeting.
I have, this is small. Judy, thank you for doing the minutes, by the way. But on page 2, the second full paragraph where it says Kathy called the question. What is the title of the job we're defining? Members have used 3 titles interchangeably. Township supervisor, township manager, and director of operations. I believe she said township administrator, not township supervisor.
okay.
I think that's significant.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other recommended changes? Do we have a motion to approve the minutes
Motion to approve as amended.
as amended? Thank you.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Okay, so, then we go to status report from Christie.
Okay. Well, recently we've been working on getting new employees, the deputy treasurer, onboarded, and we're waiting for our building custodian. He should be starting this week. We have Chris Bailey back with us from IT. And one of the things that we would like this committee to discuss is, since he is back, do we still want HR to be the point person for IT to report to, or do we want to change that? So it was discussed earlier with Aurora. I brought it up to her since Chris is back. Was it something that we still needed her to be a part of, or did you want to recommend to the Board of Trustees to take a look at that?
You want to talk about that under?
I mean, you don't have to do it this second, but it's just something that we thought we should bring up. We could have.
Under K2. Now, the K2 is about the
Okay.
director of operations. So does anybody have any input on?
Is a question is, prior to Chris going out on leave, who did IT report to?
The manager.
Oh, Okay, so that would happen simultaneously then.
Yeah, he went out, I believe it was September sixth,
Okay. it's about the
in
same
there
time.
somewhere. Yeah, so on the
Joyce
10 days
leaving.
later, Joyce.
Okay.
And we had in our temporary assignment, put IT to the HR generalist. He was out at that time and certainly, you know, Aurora was his point person. during
And
that
Julie
time,
was
which
brand new,
It,
so
it made sense
when
for
Julia
Julia,
was
absolutely.
brand new on probationary status, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm. So that made perfect sense, so.
Where do you think Chris feels his department?
I have not had that discussion with him.
That's what I'd be interested in, is what does he
I
feel?
mean, certainly if this committee's gonna meet again, we can leave it as is and I can research
Yeah.
that.
What do
and
you
let
think, Aurora?
know.
You-
Come back with.
I think probably HR shouldn't be the person, you know, that the department reports to, definitely. I know, Jess, he had made a comment one time that Jessica is the person that knows the most about IT, which it's true, besides, you know, Chris and Julio in terms of, what the projects are, et cetera, what the systems. So I don't know if that would be something you want to consider, is moving that under the clerk temporarily until there is a administrative, I don't know what to call it, permanent manager.
We have all these department heads who are under other people now, and so I actually think that IT should be under somebody just temporarily, like
Mhm.
everyone else
Yeah.
is.
Well, what about?
Yeah, it was kind
Christie?
of the one-off that was
Yeah.
under HR.
Yeah,
And that was because of Ju.
I was gonna
Because-
say,
Right,
it
which
makes sense
made
with
sense at the
Julio.
time.
Yeah.
So should he, IT go under Christie? You have the other departments under you, except for utilities.
Yeah, I mean, I could. I mean,
Yeah, I think the other thing we need to think about as a board, and not right now, but you know, we're gonna be getting department head budget requests this Friday. They're going to include position requests, including for IT. So we'll be kind of looking at that too. This board is gonna have to kind of determine what the IT team consists of.
Under the supervisor, does the supervisor, right now, who is the supervisor, department heads going to supervisor?
Just utilities.
It's utilities.
And assessing.
Well.
Yeah, that's
assessing
a
is
standard, that's a
statutory.
Right, right.
statutory thing. Okay, I mean, just trying to spread. Since it's temporary, trying to spread the workload out.
do you want it?
No. No, 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 thank you for offering though.
I think it's more difficult for trustees who are not in the office.
Agree.
Yeah, that's
It is.
why I would, I mean,
it is.
yeah,
I agree.
Yeah,
and so, you know, Christie, how is your bandwidth?
I mean, it's doable. If that's something this committee wants me to undertake, I certainly can do that.
I mean, that means every time we have a Zoom problem.
Well,
no,
no.
it's the IT issues. I mean, I'll just say like, and I think Christy and I have probably spent the most time with IT in the course of the time that we've worked here. And all the
Absolutely.
various things that need to be done. So, you know, we have still like these system-wide initiatives that have got to kind of get done, and we need to kind of make a project plan,
Live cast.
you know, for getting all these
project
things
paperwork.
done, our SharePoint, our digital records, all this stuff, these system-wide things. Kathleen's made a nice offer to help with Outlook. But these system-wide changes that'll help us all be more efficient. And then there is the day-to-day, you know, of, you know, hey, I can't get my printer to work, you know, sort of stuff. And so kind of figuring out the right, you know, workflow for this. So I do think that having somebody in the office who is working with IT is particularly important, because the kind of mission and priorities are being determined now. You know, we've got kind of the heavy lifting of the network done, and now there's all of the software configuration and figuring out what capabilities we're gonna have. So there's a lot to be done, but I do think that Chris and Julio could use the support of somebody who's gonna kind of, help them kind of shepherd things through.
Well, when we say in the office, sounds absolutely natural. Who are we then limiting that to? So, Christie, I think, is in the office, right? Jessica's in the office and
Yeah, the
supervisor.
more I think about it, I'm gonna recuse myself from IT while I'm going through what I'm going through.
Oh, okay,
Oh, agree.
okay.
Yeah,
So,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, I'm happy to do whatever the group wants. I'm happy to do it, with Christie. It's whatever makes sense for folks. It's,
Christie, would you mind doing this? I'm trying to set somebody up for a motion to do something, without a pay increase.
No, right, no, absolutely, yeah.
We can't just keep piling things.
That's it, that's what I'm thinking. Okay. Motion to assign, are we using the word assign?
That's okay.
Is that
yeah,
assign?
assign.
Assign the IT department to report
IT
temporarily
reporting duties.
to
Chris.
our office coordinator, Christie, office coordinator.
And we'll bring that to the board.
Does it need to
Unless
go
this
to the
is
board?
it, I don't know.
We did do a board, this is by board resolution, so it should be prepared as a resolution, even if it's on consent. Amendment.
Yeah.
Support, if you need a motion, second.
Okay, all in favor?
Can I just ask for clarification?
Sure.
Christie, could you read that motion back one more time to make sure we have it the way we want it?
I didn't write it.
Judy, what
Or
did you say?
Judy?
Okay,
Temporarily.
We got the recording.
we did, right, we got the recording. We used the word assign,
Yeah.
the department, I always try to avoid names, assign the department, temporarily to the office coordinator.
Temporarily assigned IT department?
So I
IT
want,
department, yes.
I want to say that would make it different than the way we've temporarily assigned everybody else. We've
Okay.
temporarily assigned positions, not departments, and I think in this case, it might be good to use Chris's title of IT director.
Okay.
Okay.
I would support the motion to temporarily IC.
And
assign
IT specialist. So I think what I would suggest as a friendly is IT director and IT
So an
specialist.
IT specialist as well.
Why would we name
Because he
both
would-
when doesn't the specialist report to the IT director? Why would we name both?
It
Might as
is,
well just say department then, because there's
That's
only
me
two.
too.
it's true, Aurora?
Currently, the specialist under resolution is reporting to the HR generalist, so maybe IT department.
Okay,
If
so
you're
in this
not
case,
doing both
department.
positions.
Yeah, I mean, this IT specialist we created at a time when we knew we were gonna have a temporary absence. So the reporting structure, yes, Judy, and it's all kind of new and people are kind of figuring out.
Julio sees himself though as reporting to Chris, right? Or not?
I think so.
Now that
yeah,
Chris is back.
I think so. Mhm.
I mean, last week he came over to me too, to kind of wasn't sure which one, so. He
Okay,
does see
if
himself.
employees have a question about who they report to. That's,
Well, but this is part of the transition we're going
Okay.
through as well, so it's not normal. Hopefully it's not.
It may not be normal, but people have recurrent questions. And I think you should send out that reminder maybe every other week or something. Because people are still confused.
But on what specifically?
Who reports to who?
No, I know, but what question came up recently? It's unclear on kind of where.
well, I'll say one today.
Well, it was regarding, I don't really want to go into
Oh, that's
this
okay.
in
That's
great
okay.
detail.
That's okay.
I'll offer one why I will say there's confusion is because Julio asked me and I reported to Jessica. Okay,
Well,
Well, that's, he does, yeah.
yeah.
okay, all I'm saying is that,
Doesn't know
There's some
what's going on.
township 101.
yeah, that's it, that, and I don't mean to I didn't take it as anything other than, he didn't know.
He didn't
It was
know.
just a general, he didn't know.
Yeah.
We can even see that in our committees. They don't know.
They don't know.
Right.
It's just a, it's just
Yeah.
a soft, it's just a
Yeah.
softness
I agree.
that, employees like to know where they fit in the jigsaw puzzle.
Right.
I think they need a reminder.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
And mine related to land use issues.
okay, does this change the, motion at all?
So it'll be IT department.
IT department.
Sounds like it sticks with that, so thank you.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I don't know why they say all opposed. Say
Just in
aye.
case.
Just to make sure you've heard everybody.
Robert's rules.
Mhm.
Okay, so, in the packet, we had the current, markup of the document that has updates from the last meeting. I just,
You already have it?
An extra, yeah.
so where do we go from here? Go ahead. Go for
Thank
it.
you. So I noticed we currently on supervises / oversight of the list. We don't currently include the HR generalist. And in what we currently have here, we also, in our temporary assignment, have the HR generalist and code enforcement reporting directly to the board. And so I just wanted to have the conversation of kind of, it looks like code enforcement would report to this township administrator, director of operations, is what we have proposed here, but absent is the HR generalist. And so I think that there's, pros and cons to both models of having the HR generalist report directly to the board versus to this position. And I just want to suggest that maybe we keep the HR generalist reporting directly to the board, sort of like a finance director. They're sort of the core operations where in the past, in the township, I think that we've gone to either extreme. One extreme is having a personnel committee of board members to actually manage the HR issues, which can work well because then the board knows what's going on, but you may not have the expertise you need. And then the other end is to have HR, subordinate to a manager who's subordinate to a board. And there's all of the dynamics there too, where then I think sometimes HR issues don't get to the board. And I want to make sure that our HR, Aurora's doing a great job. And I want to make sure that this board gets regular information that we need to help support our staff. So I think it might make sense to continue having HR report directly to the board. I had some specific ideas for another time about how we could practically do those reports appropriately. But as a reporting structure, I thought if we are now employing somebody with HR expertise, then periodically, I think the board needs to hear directly from that person and not have an kind of, I think that it's the HR generalist, the person's direct supervisor, and the board who should be supporting staff.
So currently, we don't have this in here as reporting to the director of operation.
Right.
By definition, it's the.
Okay, and was that intentional?
Well, we left it, this is what we did discuss and as per the minutes, HR areas were yet to clarify.
Yeah.
Is referenced to a personnel director and the training office. So we still had those going on. And then ensure that there's an HR channel for resolution of concerns,
Mhm.
so that there's an avenue. So we were still trying to tell, that was one of our open, where does HR? So it's
Mhm.
absolutely was on the table last time. We just didn't actually make a decision on that one.
Anybody have any thoughts on that?
And go back to code enforcement. You mentioned code enforcement still reports to the director of operations.
That's
As currently proposed, yeah.
Okay, so, but the fire chief reports to the board.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, and why are the,
Can we just focus on the HR position?
Yeah,
If we
but I'm
wanna
trying to
talk about
figure-
other ones?
well, am I allowed to talk? Okay, so I'm trying to figure out why
Okay.
fire chief, what's the difference between these other positions reporting to the administrator or director of operations and then these two
Like what-
reporting to the board directly?
So my thought, at least on HR, is that the board is except for deputies, the board is the employer. And when we've got an HR professional, we have policies and procedures, we have supervisors who are trained in management, then I think of the HR generalist as a little more like HR director type function that the board can have. And by the time something gets to there, it's gonna need some board attention, is my thought.
I think, go ahead, John.
I think the HR director should report to the director of operations because it'll be more dynamic because the board doesn't technically meet other than twice a month. And if there's a policy or a big thing, then the manager or the director of operations will bring it to our attention. I mean, we're not entrusting her to write policy that doesn't go through the board. So I think I can live with it either way, but my preference would be that it go to the director of operations. Just because the director of operations is gonna be here, and I know some of the board is here, certainly 3 and sometimes 4 and more, but just it'll be more practical, easier, and then the big stuff will come up to the board through the director of operations. That's just my thought.
And
I
if we,
That makes
sorry.
sense.
I could make an argument that, even the director of operation is subject to performance review, which is under the purview of HR. And it makes it less complicated if you are evaluating performance for somebody you work for
Mhm.
or for the board.
But Aurora, like in the case of Joyce, it wouldn't be her doing Joyce's eval, it would be the board.
Well, I would expect this position, Aurora, will say HR generalist, to support the board in doing that.
Right.
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure. John, I, I can live with it either way too. I would say one, thing that we've tripped over ourselves on for the last several years is the model you're saying works only if the board delegates more authority to this position, and we've never done that. We've never,
To the HR position or the DOO,
either
director of operations.
any staff. The board has never delegated its power to hire, fire, or do performance evaluations. So if we wanted to do that, and I think Pittsfield's a model where they do that, where they kind of say, okay, like supervisor, you're in charge of these people, and clerk these people, and treasurer these people, but it's mostly under the supervisor. They have a very strong HR director who supports that, so that their board really isn't involved in those decisions, because that decision-making has been delegated. Scio has never, in any version of any manager, job description, anything, even with every single proposal that has come forth over the last several years, we've never delegated hiring, firing, or performance evaluation. So if we want this position to do, say, performance evaluation, or, which is in the statute as the board, under, and then hiring and firing, then we would need to delegate that authority of the board somewhere.
I mean, the board hired the manager though. You guys, board interviewed
Right.
the manager position, so
But we hire everybody.
no, I understand that part, but I mean, the interview process, certainly the board was involved with that.
Right, but I'm saying if we wanted this person to say, handle some HR issues, John, I don't know, what kind you're thinking of. But if it involves termination or hiring or performance evaluation, which I assume it does, we would need to empower this person or that person, someone to do that.
So our department heads. It's a question. Don't do performance. They're not empowered to do performance reviews on their employees?
They're empowered and encouraged. It's not happened,
Never.
ever.
There's no formalized
Ever.
process.
There's never been
Well, then
really
how can there ever
any
be a basis
directive.
for disciplinary action or firing?
So Aurora, do you want
This
to
is
talk
what we want
to
to.
your work in this area?
So since I've been hired, I've instituted a disciplinary action. So that consists of attendance and job performance. And if there's anything else there, there's a policy violation, whatever is applicable. And so I'm working closely with the department head if there's a concern that there's an attendance violation or performance violation or anything like that. So we work very closely with that. We involve Phil Thacker. If it's to a point where it's serious or it's continues, there's no improvement in the performance. So I've definitely instituted something that I'm trying to do as a progressive disciplinary action.
But. So do the employees know what their expectations?
Yes,
Okay, so who tells our employees what the expectations are of their job? The department head?
yes, the department head.
Their direct supervisor.
Okay. And then who tells them if they're not meeting their expectations?
Myself and the department head or their immediate supervisor.
So there, that is a level of performance management.
Correct, it is. It's just, we just don't have a formal performance evaluation process in place.
And Joyce and Aurora worked on developing one for adoption by the township. I don't know, whatever support you need.
Yeah, it's currently still in draft, and if it's something that the new board wants to look at, absolutely. So it's, the one that we had drafted had been reviewed by the department heads and just a matter of, board approval, and training.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
not suggesting at this point that we elevate it to a top priority, given many other top priorities. But it can go on that list of,
It's pretty fundamental.
it's
Yeah.
pretty fundamental for trying to achieve a high-performing organization.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think we need to institute, it's just a matter of priority.
Yeah, that's,
An annual or semi-annual
yeah,
performance.
because we
review.
got a lot of things I know on our plate and a lot of priorities, so
But
if you
performance
move one
drives
up, if you
everything.
move one up, something has to give, but
And I would like a performance evaluation of this position as well, and I
oh,
wouldn't want the conflict of HR reporting to
Mhm.
this role that's also doing performance
Mhm.
review.
I do think there is value in making sure, however it's structured, that HR remains independent enough to make sure that the board and HR are having clear and complete communication.
So whatever the performance review process is, or if it's a survey, I don't know what it is, but that applies to every employee, including yourself.
Mhm.
And then, of course, if you're reporting to the board, then we would yeah.
And why
Okay.
did we eliminate, when I say we, Scio Township, eliminate a personnel committee?
So
I
Kathy,
don't even know when that was.
so that
I-
was,
I found a file on it once.
so when I started, it was still meeting, and it was, Chris Green trustee, Sandy Egler,
So a trustee,
Sandy Egler, who was finance and payroll, and Jack Knowles, it was the supervisor, and the
trustee,
treasurer.
Supervisor.
Donna was always a part of it. And then Kathy
I was never on that.
You were never
committee.
on it.
I was on the other committee that we started to deal with administration issues, that, but I was never on the.
So if we have an HR professional, do we need a personnel committee?
But do we have an HR professional? No. No.
That was a little
Yeah,
slip of the tongue.
Right, yeah, you just got me.
That's, I knew how it was going. Like, we do have an HR professional,
Right.
but we keep referring to that position as this HR generalist and is part-time
Right.
and um,
We have a lot more than we've ever had.
that's what I'm gathering.
Yeah, so we
So-
never had anyone before, ever.
Yeah.
We never had an HR expertise. Chris Green, trustee, was a employment attorney. He brought that to bear, but
Oh.
we never had HR. But I would say I can imagine us needing more HR support than we even have now in Aurora, who's done a fantastic
Yeah,
job.
yeah, this is not about not having an HR professional, it's big opportunity.
Yeah, and I think that whatever we set, you know, where we are now, but also we have to think about the future, because we're gonna be growing. And if this person is, let's say we have her HR generalist reporting to the director of operations, is that going to work in the future, or vice versa, or whatever we create? And we need to think bigger, because
So
we've been kind of held back with the growth of our township and where we should be.
So
Well,
do you
I
think
see-
we should report to-
I
I
see
think
the
the HR
opportunity for the union to come in. I know that might sound like strange, but
For HR,
not for HR, but for our employees.
well, that's up to them. We
Well,
don't,
I know, but what drives the preparation for union is when they feel untaken care of or unheard. And I get the sense that our folks are feeling unheard, unseen. It just opens up an avenue that, you know, they only have to file a claim or file something with National Labor Relations Board, and then it's out of our hands.
This
I
issue's
know
come
you
up-
might not think that's,
Come
but
up before.
we have enough
It's
employees
fair.
that are growing. I mean, the number is growing that, I don't know, it leaves us open for action that I don't, we probably don't want.
So where are we on our agenda with respect to HR?
That's,
So could you express, do you think it should report to this position or not? We can just go around.
Yeah, let's do
yeah. In Pittsfield, who does the HR report to? I mean, it's a bigger, way bigger than we are.
I don't know.
Okay, well, it does make sense for the HR generalist to report to the board directly. Because of the performance reviews of the director of operations and also others. And then the performance review of the HR generalist and also the director of operations would fall under the board. I see it that way.
I think you've expressed an opinion, right?
Yeah, I still think it should report to the board. Good arguments on the other side.
What do y'all think?
I think it should report to the board.
I think the board with dotted line, true dotted line, I'm a dotted line type of person.
Mhm.
So a dotted line to the director of operations. But it's real important when they report to the board that they report to 7 individual people,
Exactly.
not weighted averages.
That makes it hard.
And that's what makes it.
Well, then we need a mechanism to take feedback from
Right.
you,
Well, but could
that
we
we
also,
all have hear the same thing.
Exactly.
yeah, but could we put it into the policy or the job description? you report, HR generalist reports to the director of operations and the board.
When you do the and,
Well, I'm thinking, so we're not kept in the dark. We need to be, we
that's
need
why
to
if you
be
do it
informed.
direct, if you do it
Exactly what-
direct to board of
But
trustees.
then
Mhm.
it's hard for HR generalists to report to each one. They have to wait.
No, we need a mechanism
We need
to,
a mechanism.
Yeah, and Aurora and I
to-
talked about some ideas earlier today on that.
Yes, what are your,
My experience in the past, was I reported directly to the supervisor as an HR, at the time I was an HR assistant, at a charter township. So, yeah, that's.
see, Charter Township has different statutory requirements for the supervisor versus.
But I have seen in other municipalities where it does report, the role does report to the supervisor, so.
So I know we've kind of gotten into problems in the past when any one individual reports directly to the supervisor. And I would have a concern about that.
If it's not statutory.
Yes. Yes. No offense to Jillian, but these were the problems we got into with our prior supervisor. And they were major problems. So I don't want to set us up for that again, given all the issues that we've had.
So I would just state that I think it should report to the board with clearly having a mechanism to report to all of us, not a couple.
well, yeah, but then
Agreed.
this is the issue. HR generalist emails the board. We have, because that's, or we have to wait, if there's any problems, have to wait in between meetings. And if you email to the whole board, we cannot reply because then we're in violation of the Open Meetings Act.
The
And if I
email or
could-
contact by phone or whatever, we develop a mechanism. We
Yeah,
haven't
okay.
developed that
A phone
mechanism
tree?
yet.
And I think.
But,
We don't have the
but
mechanism
then
yet. We
It's
haven't had that
7
discussion.
people, individual people she needs to, or
Well, I would
I
think
think,
it- the
I think we can
mechanism would
resolve it.
give the feedback to the group. So how can we do that?
And
We all hear
I
the
think
same.
for the purposes of this meeting though, if we say it's not reporting in, then we can move on.
Exactly.
Right,
if we're not, what?
If it's not going to this director of operations,
Then we
we can
Right.
move on.
right. We'll just footnote, we need to
We'll
create a
have to do
mechanism.
something
Yep, good.
different.
Too bad Ryan isn't here.
Do we need a motion for that, or can we concur?
We can concur. Up to you.
Okay. I concur. Everybody concur?
Yes, because we could, yeah, so we'll have to do something with it. But it's not here.
Okay, what other items do we need to review?
Where are we starting, Kathleen?
Well, we've gone as far as we've hit most of these major subcategories.
Brian,
I don't know that we've resolved management of projects or contract management.
yeah, I think that's where we left off, right, as we were going through this.
So contract management,
Mhm.
that's, okay, and the project manager reports to the, so what is the project, okay, to the, director of operations, but yeah, it's here, but then the project manager has contracts to manage or projects to manage, and how does that work with the contracts?
I kind of see them like overlapping a little bit. So this contract management, I think is really important. And I think these 5 bullet points generally are just fine as they are. I see the contract management as like the major township contracts. So, when we have, our Comcast, when we have these sidewalk agreements, these street light agreements, we have so many contracts that have been really under or unmanaged here. I think this would also tie to making sure that we have some discipline around our procurement, bidding, you know, all of that. So I would see somebody bringing a whole different skill set to this, Jillian. Whereas the project management, I think, is carrying out the projects of the township where we say, okay, we want to go, you know, build this building. We want a new fire station. The project manager might lay out a plan and carry that project through for those 18 or 24 months, whatever that takes.
The way I differentiate, a key difference between contract management and project management is contract management focuses on Ts and Cs all the way from
Mhm.
negotiation to ensuring Ts and Cs are met, getting the best
Terms
deal.
and conditions.
Yeah, terms and conditions. And management of projects is all about tasks and dates, a flow chart, tasks and dates. And contract management is not a flow chart. It's about negotiating the best possible deal and value. And then
Renewals.
renewals
Mhm.
and checking on meeting, you know, all the things that we have kind of left to not be handled. And management of projects is about this task, this date, complete. You have like a chart of 3 columns, task, date, and complete, and you just keep moving down that. So can they be managed by the same director of operations? Yes, but I think those two have distinctly different focuses and skill sets. That's how I mean, then all the bullets fall under, just naturally fall under those two. So,
And this would include like our Ann Arbor water contract.
yeah.
I mean, this is a big one
Anything-
that has been undermanaged over the years. They're not, I'm not placing blame on anyone, but I've just observed it's a
Well,
very
and GFL is a really good
Another
example
one.
of unmanaged. of an
unmanaged.
Unmanaged contract is that everyone wants to, I understand.
The manager was part of that before he left.
I'm not saying he or she wasn't, it was unmanaged. The
Mhm.
Ts and Cs were unmanaged.
Yes.
And so the contract itself might have been bad. I'm not here to say that the contract was good or bad. But what exacerbated the contract was the Ts and Cs were not executed.
Enforcement. of
And
the-
enforcement
Agreed.
of it, and so, you know, you have these people coming on and saying, you know, it hasn't been picked up in so long, and that equates to X amount of dollars. No one held them to it. And so that contract management is, there's a number of ours that are just kind of out there. Community benefits is another good example. We've got these community benefits and then over here, they're being given up. You know, it's like held to it and then anyway, so agreements are agreements.
And Judy, I was wondering if it might make sense to, in that first bullet point, we give some examples, but I don't know if they really illustrate like what we're talking about. Like, I would love to see the examples such as PUD development agreement, Ann Arbor water contract, and contract with priority waste. Like something, like give the description of the big hairy contracts that we expect this person to manage.
Yeah, that if we're going to empower them to negotiate, because there's some we may not want to have the person actually negotiate for us, but some of them we probably will empower to say, go and negotiate. Others we will say, okay, we're gonna negotiate. But we want you to do, you know, follow up on every one of these.
But I don't know that we wanna, I don't think we should have zoning applications
I
in
don't,
there.
I
think
don't
that's
see that
odd.
those are, yeah, I don't see zoning applications. For
And
me, I
that-
don't see them as contracts.
Yeah, industrial tax, I mean, tax exempt, I mean, that, like the commercial redevelopment, industrial tax, I think that should all come to the board.
And,
more of an
I mean,
assessment thing.
consultants, we've got,
Sure,
OHM,
Carlisle.
Carlisle Wortman, these are,
yeah,
I mean, this is not at all suggesting that they are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. This is, though, our responsibility for fiduciary
Mhm.
responsibility to the township.
I mean, I really think contract management should be about 40% of this job. I mean,
I think
It's
it's
a-
a key.
it's a huge part of
I
the
do.
job. And it's never, we've always like hired these people and then been like assigned them stuff that feels more, you know, top of mind when this is really the important stuff.
This is money.
Yeah, this is money.
Like the CWA, OHM, Barry Blahnik, all
Our
those.
All of
Our
those.
Ann Arbor water contract,
Okay.
the contract for the cell service at the top of the water tower, the ones that we barely talk about where we are being outplayed year after year.
Because we have no one at the table.
We have no one at the table. We're like completely not even at the table, Dawn.
Yeah, we need to, is there a list of all these contracts somewhere?
Yeah, and
Or
our
the-
financial statements. Yeah, I mean, we get.
Well, but to bring them together, so the person isn't in all of us, so we know exactly what we have.
Sure. Christie has gotten started with this property, like giving us, she just
Mhm.
sent out a list of like, what are all the properties we
Mhm.
So,
Oh,
own.
like,
Yeah.
Julie, do you want to include a list of most of them or several of them in the contract management? Is that what you're?
Well, that's what we're discussing, but just so.
you want me to just send out like a list of a few key big ones?
Well, not just
Yeah.
a few, that person, whomever we hire needs to have the whole list,
Yeah.
and we need to be aware of the whole list, because sometimes this stuff pops up. And we're like, where did this come from? What is this?
Exactly. Oh, we've got that under contract and
Yeah.
especially we've got maintenance contracts, I'm sure, on, with Cummings
Yeah.
and, you know, these maintenance contracts. Where is that? Fall?
So what do we
Yeah,
want,
so
this, what do we want our job description to say?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what we're doing? When we're done with this, we're gonna have a job description so we
Yes.
can hire somebody.
Yeah,
So-
3 o'clock.
Just a couple, I think what Jessica, you're saying is just give some better examples
Yeah,
of what.
for
we-
example, the contract with
Including,
the city of Ann Arbor for our water, the garbage, the
Garbage.
PUD development agreements, yeah.
Right. So I, did a strike through on zoning applications.
Agreed.
and industrial.
And industrial
Industrial
tax.
tax.
And
agreement.
farmland agreements, I think we can take
I
out.
vetoed also.
We've got enough people working on those, right, Judy?
Yeah.
I mean, I would defer to others to, who's the key, Kathleen, are you the keeper of the document?
Yeah, I've been updating it,
Thank
yes.
you. So I would, you know, whatever Jess or Jillian or Christie have to say on what they are, or others, you know, including, including blah, 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 whatever you think the important ones are, by trickiness, dollar value, frequency, however you want to add it. We don't have to have edit every contract, but
Agreed.
Do you think we
Yeah,
need
because there's
to,
gonna be a long list that we want. I mean, that the person would be
I don't think you
responsible.
know, things come up also.
Yeah.
New contracts. Do we want to include something that says they collaborate with the township attorney? Or is that,
I think that's implied. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing their job if they,
okay,
I mean, if we have to write in a job description, you have to consult with an attorney when you should consult with an attorney, then we've hired the wrong person.
Yeah, but we shouldn't make assumptions either. And so everybody's clear, because, eventually, we're
well,
not gonna be here.
contracts have legalities, the terms and conditions.
That's true, we can include that in there. I mean, I don't know
I don't
what,
think we need to include it in there.
okay.
I'm okay either way.
I don't think we need to, because they're not gonna be able to enter into the contracts. I mean, all our stuff subject to attorney approval.
You know,
Except
actually,
for special assessments.
one word that jumps out to me is we do, last bullet point, prepare, review, and execute contracts.
They don't.
No,
prepare.
they don't execute,
They don't prepare,
and they don't,
they don't draft.
They kind of review it
right,
and
they
administer.
could draft, but yeah, I think, well, yeah, maybe not.
I
I mean,
wouldn't want that. If
So
my attorney drafted a
Christie's
contract
never
before I
seen a
even-
manager draft a contract. I haven't either. So let's be real. We've never seen preparation of a contract I would like somebody who could prepare a contract.
Well, we should have some boilerplate.
Yeah, we do have boilerplate from our attorney.
Review,
reviews,
administer.
But not execute. Execution is done by the board.
Administer?
Yeah, I think we should say prepare,
Review and
Review.
oversee.
prepare for the board. I don't think it's, unless I have a different understanding of executing. Executing sounds like we're empowering somebody to sign for us. And I don't think we mean to.
Could be prepare and review
Okay.
and leave that next part out. Yeah, it's not contracts and subcontracts. We could just say prepare and review contracts.
Agreed.
Or authorize disbursements or services rendered.
So again, that goes,
I'm not sure that's necessary either.
Yeah, because that would be,
I think it makes sense to have them as the person who's coming back. We get a bill from OHM. They're the ones who are kind of the purchasing agent, as we use it in our procurement policy. The person making sure all the services are received, the person responsible.
well,
So that's an approval then.
It is an approval.
Does supplier did what they were supposed to do.
Mhm.
Sometimes you have that too. Department heads, if it's a Cummings contract, did they do their,
Well, that's what we do now. We do have it dispersed on the department that's responsible, who would know the most. Yeah.
But if it
So is this-
involved, oh, go ahead, Catherine.
no,
If it involved them not meeting a term or condition, and the department head knew that, then what would the department head do when they knew they had failed to meet their contract term or condition? What would they do now?
Well, if it's a simple thing, like the good hasn't been received or the services aren't then we
Yeah.
just don't pay and.
Okay.
start talking. But other harder ones, it would be good to have this person support the department head in sitting down and bringing them into compliance. Because right now it's very ad hoc.
well, should there be
Okay.
something work with department heads? Prepare, review contracts.
Well, most of them, if the department heads report to them,
Mm-hmm.
that would, they would be working with them, they're responsible for them. They're reporting to them.
can somebody explain this prepare and process all necessary documents for fiscal payments? Is that is there a procedure in place
just-
now?
Yeah, that's just word soup. I don't know where it came from.
Yeah,
We have a procurement policy that actually handles this, where get an invoice in, you verify that you've gotten the services or the goods. The department head signs off on that and then submits it for payment.
Then maybe we should refer to, in this, remove that word soup and say that this position follows the procurement policy.
Yeah.
And remove. That.
Sounds good.
And does this provide fiscal budgetary controls is,
I think that's part of the word soup.
yeah.
I think that's the purpose of our procurement policy.
Because we currently have the budgets and BSNA and the department heads are looking at their budgets.
We have what's budgeted, what's authorized, what's contracted, and every invoice has to.
And they can't go over budget anyway without a budget amendment.
Right,
You can stay under.
right.
Okay, anything else on this one?
Well, the one about the consultants, seems very soft. Monitor our relationships
Yeah.
Monitor our relationships. Okay, great. I like you. You like me. To ensure effective communication and best practices to make judicious use
Yeah.
of townships' resources.
I remember the authoring of this, and this was not my first draft. It got watered down in our administration discussion, Kathy, because people didn't want to offend our long-term contractors. So ding, 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 Judy.
I mean, I just see that they walk all over us on that one.
So we're scratching that one.
I'm just,
I don't know.
I'm trying to remember exactly how it came about. I mean, I do remember this discussion.
Because I was suggesting, hey, maybe we should look at having more professional expertise in-house. So,
With
yeah.
all that tribal knowledge.
Big flag.
So I think, I agree. I mean, I think the one up above, that ascertain that all terms and conditions imposed in favor of the township are faithfully kept and performed. I would like to see that, not just for in any public utility franchise or with any consulting contract.
Mhm.
That's fine.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, I'm not sure that the director of operations cares whether or not we love, you know, we're loving or hating on our consultants. That's like monitoring our relationships. I mean, it's-
Yeah, I don't know if this has a place here.
Then we're gonna.
Me
get
either.
started.
And judicious use of resources, I don't know, judicious? I know,
It's an opinion. I mean, that's policy. It's a board decision.
Yeah, I would strike that whole
I-
bullet point.
me
and
too.
just
Yeah, I would.
Add
I would.
after
I
any
would.
public utility franchise or any consulting contract up above, any contract.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
So
with
easy,
you.
yeah. Yeah, good call.
All in, all done?
Mhm.
I'm an auctioneer. So are we saying that project management is not here, but it's a reporting relationship?
Yeah, because the very first, serve as the overall project manager for the township, including development of project management best practices. So if we have a project manager, then they don't have to do that.
Well, I think these bullet points, though, if this is come out of this job description, I mean, certainly would still supervise the project manager, but not necessarily have project management expertise in depth. Aurora, these bullet points, I mean, I think I'd be curious to look at how these align with our current project manager job description.
Yeah, because you said we got kind of into a convoluted situation with the project manager, if I recall. Last time you said this one got prepared and then this one got hired and then we.
Yeah, the project manager was kind of created to be half-time parks director and then half-time providing technical support to roads, other projects. But it wasn't initially conceptualized as a project manager, which is why I'm hearing so much, what? It's not a project manager. And it's like, yeah, it's not.
Okay.
So, but these bullet points are much more project
These are-
manager descriptions, yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Oh, I can't believe we put all of this under one person
Well, we
back in the day.
back in the day.
So I think these are good things, but again, the project management too, this is the sort of stuff that sometimes I've seen the board try to put on a manager and then I haven't seen it work well. It's like, hey, why don't you go carry out this complex thing and report back? You know,
And do all these other things.
yeah, all the other
All
things, so,
So,
yeah.
So might I suggest we're gonna take this out, but we're not gonna lose the concepts of true project management
So you're saying take the whole section out?
because it's a supervisory.
Yeah. I just want to clarify what you're saying.
And Aurora, can you kind of take note of this and think about, yeah.
It's just a different copy,
Oh,
different
okay.
wording.
I've got another 3 o'clock meeting
Okay,
standing 3 o'clock Monday.
Okay, thank you,
Okay.
John.
Thanks,
Thanks.
John.
Thank you.
Okay, see ya.
Nice job, Kathleen, et al.
See you tomorrow.
It's tomorrow.
Yeah, take care.
See you,
Bye,
John.
John.
So I just wanted to point out, I tried to time box this for an hour and a half. I didn't think an hour was enough last time. And I sent out meeting invitations as placeholders if you already had it.
Yes,
fine,
thank you.
but Trustees didn't have it, so I'm trying to
Okay,
institute some Outlook
Yeah,
best practices.
so Christie had sent that out as well, so if I. Yeah. Then you sent out the same thing, and if I do both, then it says, you have a conflict.
Okay.
Okay, so that's why I declined, so I just wanted to, I have to decline one or the other.
I don't pay that close to each and every meeting. Yeah, and that one I did remember though.
When did you send that out, Kathleen?
I initially
A
sent it
couple of
out and I
days
think
ago.
you followed up with it. And I did change the meeting time.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
had it all
I did.
highlighted.
Yes, you did. That one, I do remember.
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, you had that.
2 to 3:30.
Okay, so what else do we have to talk about in here?
So project management, we're treating similar to what we did with HR, which is set it to the side,
But
right, Kathleen?
not.
But not forget it.
The good content that's in here.
Yeah.
I think on the township meeting coordination, I think it's fine to include this if you want to. I think it's also something that we could, the first bullet point, I think we need to consider. The second two bullet points, I think is something we could defer to the board's rules of order. You know, certainly I think it makes sense. I just don't. I can go either way. I'm just saying, I think that this is an area where do we really want this person to be focused on agenda preparation? Maybe.
I'm sure there would be input.
Yeah, I mean, as there would be
But also,
input and involvement, I just don't know if we want this person to get bogged down with this.
Yeah, and here, including room preparation, technical needs, well, we have IT, and taking minutes.
Yeah,
That's
that's-
not the, we should
Well-
not be taking minutes or assigning the responsibility to others, because the minutes should fall under the clerk.
Yes, they do.
So I think what Jessica's suggesting is we take it out of here, but have these necessary things like attend board meetings in the rules of order. And then the potential about agenda.
I think the last two bullet points, I would propose moving to rules of order if we want to, but the first bullet point, I do think we should talk about
Okay.
here. It's not so much township meetings coordination as much as, you know, attend all meetings of the township board with the right to take part in discussions, but without the right to vote. That's a big responsibility to expect somebody at every board meeting. I think it's a good thing. I just want us to be deliberate about wanting this, having our director of operations there. I think it makes sense and I would support it, but it's more like township meeting participation. You know, we're asking them to sit at the table and voice their input as much as the 7 of us do.
You mean with this, the way this is worded right now?
Yes, and I would support that. It's just, I want to make sure that's what we want since we've changed the job so much.
So there's Christie. Interim right now. You, when asked, you provide a report, or if we ask you about a topic, you give your insight. Joyce was quieter, but she did when asked, she would, yeah, but we're not demanding that they have are included with every discussion.
Well, some managers, you know, a lot of meetings,
Well, Bryce did.
the manager speaks the most and presents every item. So, which is okay, it's just a different model. So I'm just saying like who we're recruiting for, this is a signal to people about what type of job it is.
Well, that's not what we're recruiting for, that kind of involvement in the board meetings. I don't
You don't think so? Okay,
No,
so do you,
no.
What do you think of this language then, that bullet point?
You want them to attend all meetings unless they're on
Yes.
vacation?
I
Yeah,
think they
okay.
should.
So we have
definitely.
I
that.
do too.
So should it stop right there? Period.
Well, I think there is some role for the for the operations person to assist the supervisor with agenda preparation as requested by the supervisor.
Well, we're not talking about that one yet.
Just the
Oh, we're
first
talking
one.
about the
I'm
first
jumping
one.
around.
That's okay. Kathy, I'm curious in particular about the first bullet point. Attend all meetings of the township board with the right to take part in discussions, but without the right to vote.
Well, they have the right to take part in discussions, but we haven't actively encouraged a lot of discussion.
Can I speak on this one?
Sure.
Sure.
Just because I've been at the meeting. So from
You have
this
that.
perspective, I can tell you it's very beneficial to be at the meetings.
Yeah.
It's very beneficial to hear each person's opinion and see it come together. I think for people that don't speak up as much, it's because I think it can be kind of disruptive to the engagement between the board members. If you want that person's perspective, I think you need to just ask. And then they can give it, but I think when the board is dialoguing back and forth, it would be more disruptive for someone to go, oh, like I just did. But just to do that, but I think it's important for them to be there, but I think that's also why they're a little bit more quieter because they're letting you do your thing.
Well, yeah, and going back to David Rowley, I was thinking of Joyce, but then
I didn't
Bryce,
watch him.
Bryce gave a
Well,
lot of input, but
Bryce he's the chatty.
yeah, but David Rowley and then Mark Thompson, Mark was pretty quiet unless he was,
Yeah, but he was interim.
yeah, okay, so
Yeah.
David Rowley, gosh, it seems so long ago.
Participated when asked. I remember asking him many questions during board meetings.
Yeah, and if he felt something was really important, or he had background information, he would always provide
He
it.
would offer.
Yeah.
So I don't think that we should, I don't know, I think attend all board of
I just wanted to
trustee
check in.
meetings
Okay.
and participate when necessary, when needed.
They'll know what they
language,
just leave
I
it?
think this language is okay.
So take out with the right to vote, or right to sorry.
I think we should keep that in, just to be clear.
Mhm.
Yeah, right to take part in
Well, I
discussions
don't
without the right to
I
vote.
think that's what Christie was suggesting. This implies that they should be involved in all discussions.
I'm saying
No, I
maybe
mean,
somebody else is different, but for me, I think it's better to let the board do its thing, and then if you have a question, ask it. But I don't think that position really needs to be going, Dan, over here, you know, like, that's all I'm saying.
so,
You can do it on this side, then they don't see us.
Yeah,
right, so then,
there's nobody.
couldn't we
right now.
just stop at attend all board meetings?
Yeah.
What I have an issue with the right to take part in discussions.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes it
that's what I
sound
was
like they're
wondering.
on equal grounds with the board.
Well, that was the purpose of that. I mean, that is the purpose, that is the meaning of that. So that's why I was checking in.
Well, I never considered the manager or whomever to be on equal grounds with the board. I
know,
never thought that.
But some applicants to the position would,
So
and do.
that's,
Well, then they can run for office.
you know.
so that's why,
I think that's part, no, but really I think that's what, when you talk about managers and administrators, like in counties and cities and, you know, people really come at these job
Yeah.
postings
Yeah.
with really different perspectives, Kathy, and a lot
Yeah.
of them do think, no, I am in charge. I am the CEO, you know?
Because even as Aurora said, in a charter, the supervisor has different roles, and if you come from a mayor format, the mayor has a different role, so
So-
if it can lead to confusion, then it's best to
how about this, attend all
fix it.
board of trustees meetings, reporting status, and participating as requested.
As needed.
Great.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I just want to get rid of the right
Yeah.
to take
Mhm.
part.
Mhm.
Good.
Say that again, Kathleen.
attend all meetings, state that the status reporting is required. And that may, I don't know how to say may participate or may be called upon to participate in the discussion.
Well, may participate. Wow,
Is
I
that
guess-
Riser?
Yeah, we're in his meeting too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like
Wait,
you.
yeah, it echoes down that hallway though.
Do you want me to close the door?
Thank you.
It's okay, it's just.
Oh, he takes it by Zoom,
Yeah,
John, oh. Mhm.
Okay,
And I think Kathy had something on this next one.
Well, and then it was discussed about the board rules of order. That this would go under the rules of order. Or to be looked at.
potentially, because that's just where there's already a conflict between our existing rules of order and this. It's a small point, but I'm just pointing it out so we can avoid it. When you're ready, I do some comments on qualifications, but.
I just didn't want to skip, or I don't want to skip this because Kathy, remember, she was onto this one.
agendas,
Oh.
helping with agendas.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Before she says that she had jumped ahead. And so,
Okay,
Where'd
thank
she
you.
go?
She's in John's meeting.
Yeah.
That sounds more fun.
I'm sure she'll be right back.
Probably isn't, but.
Well, let's go to qualifications.
Yeah.
We can come back.
Yeah,
So I would just say the data sciences, that was me. That's when we wanted the person to be
which
chief.
one is that one on?
Qualifications.
Okay,
in
that's just-
second.
Oh, the second one.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I think data sciences, that was really much more when we wanted this person to be really like the CIO, really
Analysis.
overseeing the person, the analytical person overseeing IT
This
to,
second
you know, and that's just
qualification.
different.
Master's degree, oh,
Yeah.
I don't think we're there. Jessica, I don't think,
No,
I don't
unicorn.
think,
no, that was 3 years ago. We're
Okay.
still not there.
I think that's an evolving.
It was an idea. We're not there.
It's a good idea,
No, it's
but
just an idea.
I
It's
think we
okay.
probably are.
Oh.
Agree.
You're just
Could you
talking
think
about the
about
data
Agreed.
services, not the rest of it.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, my suggestion is just data sciences to take that out. You know, I do think public administration, public policy, like that's kind of the core, maybe, you know, business administration operations. Particularly if there's contract management.
Mhm.
I do think, you know, somebody from the private sector, but who has really good contract management. Can make the leap, definitely public administration, that's it, I wish,
Mhm.
you know, 5 to 7 years. I always hope for more than that, but we'll defer to Aurora about what's realistic.
So there's,
But I think the management one, this is where I really think having like somebody who can really develop. Like we have 5 to 7 years of experience supervising, mentoring, and professionally developing a variety of staff. I'd like us to say more about what's needed in terms of supervising all the people we have. So we have people of very different levels of we're very different, we do a lot of diverse functions, right? We've got everything from a fire department to assessing. And then we have people who, some of them have less experience than others and need a lot of kind of support and development. So I'd like to have something in there. We don't have to decide now, but something in there about that. Somebody who's just a really, really good people manager.
all right,
Because I don't know that we've ever really tried to recruit for that.
So experience is the only way you're gonna get at that experience at supervisory
Mhm.
experience, and I don't even see that in here.
well, it's down, it's the fourth from the bottom.
Mhm.
Ah, okay.
And so they need a bachelor's degree and a master's?
I thought it was.
No, it says bachelor's required, master's preferred. But I
Oh, okay,
defer to
there it is.
Aurora
Okay.
on that.
No, I think that's good.
This is where these qualifications get tied into is what we're offering. So I just, they're married because the more years you ask and the higher degree,
Mhm.
is going to get tied into, if we're looking for someone at mid-level in private, what you're looking at for
Mhm.
wages
Mhm.
are what we're offering. So we just don't want to raise our qualifications so high to the level that we're not going to be able to attract someone at this wage that we want to offer.
I agree. I would also say we can strike the desired software expertise. Would be my suggestion, the last one.
The last one.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, and there's project management software. I mean, I guess they're gonna have to know about different types of software, but they need to be.
I think Microsoft Office is something everybody gonna
Yep.
apply is gonna know.
I've never seen a
Right.
manager here use anything but whatever was given to that person on their desktop.
Well, but it says,
Well,
And that was,
part of,
This is on their
Microsoft
desk, yeah.
365, it includes project management.
Yeah,
A lot of people don't use it, they don't know how to use it.
well,
we have it.
I know, I
This-
guess I know what's
okay.
used.
I know.
and project management software. So that it's not,
Bryce was the most competent out of all of them when it came to technology and computers and
Yeah, we've had some really low
he was
tech
really
people.
good. He knew what he was doing. Maybe David Rowley too, but I
No.
didn't speak as much, but.
No.
No, that knew what they were doing.
She was always very open to learning.
He did pretty good
She
considering.
jumped on Zoom.
Yeah.
I give her a lot of credit. Only been in the job with
well,
Judy,
Judy
gotta hold it together.
joined the ranks. Okay,
So here's another idea or consideration. In terms of the qualifications, it is going to depend on the salary range that you're offering, as Judy said. And we're going to need to get some input from others in salary range, like Aurora, and if we use Amy Sell again, you know, her expertise. I know we're not there yet, I'm just saying. We're gonna need more input
Mhm.
on that issue,
Sure.
probably from multiple people.
I
We
agree.
have that as an agenda item. When
Okay.
we get there. So, Kathy, Judy wanted to make sure that you had input to,
Jumping ahead
um,
to new line. But we
the
did,
township meeting.
this one right here, you had a comment.
Kathy, you had a
on
comment?
This one,
You got
And then
stuck on
we-
John's meeting, so we're
and
coming
then
back
you
to it.
had to go, yeah.
Okay.
You had something on that one.
I just think it can be helpful to have this person assisting the supervisor
I agree.
if needed.
well, but the supervisor doesn't do the agenda,
Well,
Who does?
everybody.
So I think, here's what I wanna say.
Oh.
Here's what I wanna say. I think that this is, we can keep it in here if you want to, but I think that this is really spelled out, Jillian, in our rules of order, how the agenda is assembled. I don't think it conflicts greatly with this, but why put this in a job description when it's set forth in the rules of order?
just so they know, just so a prospective applicant. will
Okay,
know.
so, assist the supervisor with agenda preparation, including it,
I'd stop it there,
We
or with.
yeah, as
You can
needed.
stop there.
As needed, or
As
what
needed.
did you phrase, you said
needed.
as requested or something like
Yeah,
that.
as requested.
Well,
How's that?
I think is what,
as requested, but then that last sentence,
And then take the last bullet point out.
yeah, because they should,
Right.
yeah.
Well, we were just, yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
I
That,
think
that,
all of that out, yeah, preparation.
so I used to do all of it. And some people got upset about that, so they assigned that to the manager, because they're like, why is Jessica turning on Zoom?
Oh.
And I said, well, somebody
oh,
else could.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
still saying that.
So assist the supervisor with agenda prep as
Go for
requested.
it.
That's it.
Go
That's-
for it.
it's- Okay.
But generally, I think the qualifications are fine. I think, I mean, we're talking about 5 to 7 years. I think that if a degree is required or preferred, I defer to Aurora on that,
Yeah.
what it should be, given the market.
I think that's probably good, the 5 to 7, and to just go back to, what I think Kathy, you had mentioned the, compensation. So this title, the working title that we had previously, township manager, it is part of the wage and classification study,
Okay.
so.
And are other similar ones, like are there operations directors or office directors, office coordinators? Like, are those, because some,
So they have our job descriptions too.
okay,
So they're going to try to align that information with our comparables, so hopefully we'll
Okay.
get something. And if it's really off, I could even call and get job descriptions,
yeah,
you know, to see what they call it and what they have in terms of this title.
that's great. So, yeah, because there may be some positions, once we get the initial results back, where we're gonna want to dig in and see their job descriptions, if there's something wildly off. When do you expect roughly we might have that?
I have not, so I haven't received an update in the last week or so. I know that they are already gathering the information for the wages, and then they have our descriptions. So I know that they're already requesting our comps to provide information, so.
Okay,
So I think we've gone through this enough at this point.
can I just say one more thing?
Oh, of course.
Sorry, I just want to be clear, we're not, are we gonna require somebody to live close? Sometimes people, for these sorts of positions, they ask, oh, are you required to live in the community? And this is when you get, if you start wheeling and dealing, in the upper echelon, it'll be, you know, moving packages, all that stuff. So a common question we've gotten when we've done this recruiting before is, do you require the person to live in the township? I would say no, would be my vote, but I want to check in to see if others feel differently,
So
because I think
we're sharing.
they're welcome to live someplace more affordable and work here, and that helps us.
I'm
Thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not
Agreed.
on a relocation package.
Okay, but we're not
Yeah,
gonna require that somebody lives in
No.
Scio Township.
No. Though,
We never
will
have.
probably beg the question
Yes,
especially since COVID, about remote work, which implies how far away they can
Right.
live. And it is an in-person job. I think is the
Yeah.
more critical is that it is an
Yes.
office-based
yes,
position. And if they want to commute 2 hours,
go for it.
Yeah,
You're not gonna want to commute 2 hours.
that's, yeah, that's it.
I agree with
I
you,
think
Judy.
an office is.
And Aurora's been doing a good job for every posting. She makes clear
Yes.
that it's in
That
person.
it's
And
in
we
person.
started putting on site.
You know, before it was a non-issue, you were expected, but now it's quite,
It's open.
it's open, and other people kind of ask or expect
Mhm.
an option.
Yeah, and another thing that came up, remember David Rowley had his job description. And then the board decided to change things and
Mhm.
was going to put more onto David Rowley, and he said, no, unless you want to open up my contract. So, and I noticed that in a lot of our job descriptions at the bottom, and anything else the board assigns you,
Mhm.
which, you know, then we end up piling on all kinds of things that they weren't supposed to be doing in the first place. So we need to have something in here. Now you do have responsibilities and reporting relationships may be modified based on the needs of the township of Scio, but I just want to avoid having more responsibilities than what was intended with, and then also opening that up if they're gonna have a contract or whatever to, oh, I want $100,000 more a
Yeah.
year for
Well,
that.
I think we can even discuss if there would be a contract. That's a next agenda item, because I think we've gotten outplayed several times.
Right,
Okay.
all right, so, is there anyone that's interested in rewriting the position summary?
Who's the
Based-
secretary?
Based on the, ideas we've. Or do you like this one?
The position summary.
I think you are doing,
Okay.
Aurora.
Yeah,
love it.
review it, and then kind of look at it and
Would
bring
you?
it back. to-
We would love your
Okay.
expertise on that.
Thank you.
So did I hear you just volunteered?
I
too?
did.
yeah, she did. This is going back to page, I think it's page 1, where we did 2 areas about add.
Oh, yeah.
So to circle back to add, I mean, looking back from the list, we addressed the contract management,
Mhm,
we addressed the statutory duties,
mhm.
but the public engagement is one that that I know Renee brought up a couple of times, Pam has brought up a couple of times.
Right.
We said, yeah, that we really want to reinforce that they have a role in public engagement.
What kind of role would you imagine? Because I heard those comments, but I was curious to understand
Well-
more, because I saw you nodding. And I was like, oh, I wonder what Judy's thinking.
Well, it's more about what Renee was expressing was exactly what I experienced, which is one manager. So that's why it may or may not, in terms of what we do with that, is that, as Renee was saying, and what my experience was, is attempting to talk to our previous manager, discuss any information, access. It was no access, no ability. And so, same with that, Renee was experiencing the same thing, is that just did not interface with the public.
Mhm.
And as Christie would in fact attest, it confused the heck out of me, because I would leave, I would call, leave a message for Joyce, and Christie would call me back.
Mhm.
And I'm like, that's interesting,
Mhm.
but didn't satisfy me at all,
Mhm.
because that isn't,
Who you call?
We had 2 managers that were very engaged with the public and the others were not.
okay. And so, in fact, Renee even pointed out that who solved her problem was Christie did.
Mhm.
And
So, since we added this, it doesn't mean it has to go in this.
that's exactly, it just, we didn't want it to fall off of the plate,
But
is that.
I do think something in the position summary, we should say something about being responsive to inquiries from the public,
Yeah, but
requests for the
It's
public.
easy to
This is
say
the
that
director.
though,
This is the
until
director
they're
of
in that position
operations,
and-
though,
and you're getting a hard no.
not a manager.
That's the thing.
Who
Say
gets
that
a
again,
hard no?
Christie?
The front, you know,
Yeah,
Like
I found that you were put in the position of.
yeah,
calling
they're
back.
not gonna look, they're gonna put themselves in a position where they're not gonna be available to help. That's the best way I can put it.
Well, that's not.
Yeah,
what
that's
we're-
what-
Other
it-
managers that were like,
Yeah.
hey, like, come here, bring them in,
Yeah,
come here, I'll bring them in.
So you want this person to do all of this and also engage with the public
no,
and
no.
solve their problems?
If the public wants to speak to them, if somebody comes to the counter and says, I'd like to speak to the manager, and that
Yeah,
manager.
that manager should, anybody should be
manager.
available.
It's an
Right.
employee of,
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean,
Okay,
yeah.
well,
I agree with
Tried
you.
it before.
it's,
I'm not saying that they shouldn't, but it ends up being, I don't know how they're gonna get everything done.
Well, I think like anybody, I want to speak to the supervisor, I want to speak to the clerk. I mean,
Sure.
we're always popping up, right?
yeah, it's.
Public service.
So how about, something like
I mean, it isn't like they're
If
gonna man the
contact-
desk. I mean,
If
it's-
contacted by
No, it's how you, yeah.
a resident, the position should resolve or
Yeah.
Willingness to
Willingness.
engage with residents.
Yeah.
As
I do.
resident questions or, engage with residents as needed.
Mhm.
Something like that.
so that.
Yeah,
I
the
think the key
willingness of it, I
was-
think, because what I found in the sequence was that what came across is her unwillingness. Christie was more than capable and absolutely wonderful in addressing what I was calling about. But it really came across as her unwillingness to interact with a township resident. It was,
I was asked to take care of her phone, like, I would take the phone messages and then,
And that is a style of a township manager. And it's a style that we want to try to recruit for somebody who's more outgoing, because I've seen a lot of managers with that style of, I'm gonna be internal, I'm gonna kind of help the board do what they're gonna do, and then I'm gonna go back. And we're saying that's not what we
Yes.
want. We want somebody who's like engaging with the public.
Okay, here, let me
Yeah, I
try
So I don't
this.
see a director of operations as being that person.
not even to have the willingness.
No, the director of operations I see as the directing the operations of the township. So having public engagement, that's more of a, I would see as a manager, township manager.
But I think Kathy's words about willingness,
How about this?
Yeah.
Willingness to engage with the public and to make disposition of the concern. You don't have to resolve it, you just gotta follow up.
good.
Is that?
And we may tweak
This
it
is
a little
only
bit
Yeah.
later.
Ask for that.
It's just it's a job description at this point. It's not an ordinance. And-
Yeah.
It can be modified later.
But is it, so
We're not,
on the website, we're gonna have director of operations.
Quick question, so, typically this position, I don't know if we've ever called it a liaison, but that's basically what you're saying to me. That this person is a liaison between citizens,
oh,
the,
no.
the elected
No,
officials.
liaison would be a place to. Liaison versus willingness is, I come to
Okay.
the counter
Gotcha.
and. I say, could I talk to the manager or director of operations? And he or she is willing to speak to me versus. Christie walking to that person's office and her saying, no, I'm not available, I'm in a meeting. Tell her I'm in a meeting. That is what happened, and that is unacceptable, in my opinion, for it. But that's not a liaison role, that's I'm hiding behind all those nice people.
But she didn't have time for us either.
Well,
Or
that's-
that, because she had all of the job.
So a
Yes,
willingness.
you know,
A
putting up-
willingness,
I
it's
agree with
just a
you.
willingness.
I agree with you.
But not an assignment, it's just a willingness. I mean, it puts our front people in an awkward position.
I
When
agree.
Christie has to come back and say, well, she's busy. I mean,
But she's in a meeting, okay, but, okay,
Yeah.
for example, a resident comes to the front counter and asks for what? What would they want from the director of
that
operations?
sometimes I can speak to that.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just wanna have somebody besides who's coming up to the counter to help you. They're going above you.
Yeah, they want
They
to.
wanna have a
Wouldn't they
higher
go to
level
the
person.
clerk or
No.
to the treasurer or? to
No,
the
but sometimes I back up Christie, if there's like angry person about the garbage, Christie's
Yeah.
talked to them, exhausting, like,
Just you need
and
another-
then they come back, it's like, okay, I'll have them, talk to me for a while, right? You just back up your
Mhm.
team. Like, it's like, okay, well,
No, but they oftentimes, they know that there should be somebody besides Fran or myself coming up, you
and if
know.
it's contract, say it is like Renee used as an example, was the priority.
Yeah, priority waste.
Which should have gone to the supervisor because it's under the supervisor.
Right, and we did, and
Or we have somebody that is complaining because the bushes on Jackson Road are getting too bushy.
yeah, that's a good one. Or
So
the
Mark
dead deer.
Thompson jumped up and drove his little car right out there
Right,
and he
Mark
took
liked
care of
driving
whatever he
around
did,
town.
probably took some veg
He
trimmers.
was driving
and-
around town.
Okay.
Which is what I would have
Unnecessarily
done.
sometimes.
Get out of my way, let me just push these back.
It's
No, that happens.
It's
literally.
just small, it's just small efforts about willingness versus.
Well, that should be true for all of us, though.
That's
I
what Jessica's
agree.
saying.
I
There should be
agree,
I
great
do
initiative.
agree.
for all of us.
I do agree that if you find and you hear voices being raised at the counter,
You go help.
someone comes
Sure.
and helps.
I'd like
Yeah,
to, I
they've
thought
always-
what I heard from you and Renee is, but don't just drop it.
Yeah, and don't just,
So I like make disposition of the
I
issue.
do too. Mhm.
That's good.
And I'll see what else I can find out, if there's anything else out there in terms of this role, because we're. Like what you said, this is an operational one, so we're looking for something, I think, a little bit different than this isn't just an operational position. This is someone that is the daily interactions with anyone that's coming to a counter, you know.
Well, and I would say, I wonder if some places we might go for inspiration is, you're gonna laugh, is the road commission. But, because they have more of these positions, but some of our other local agencies that aren't townships, you know, like road commission, water resources commissioner, some of these governmental units that are about our size, but they have, you know, probably some good job descriptions that we can kind of.
Yeah, like water resources is an example. I went over there for a stormwater issue.
Yeah.
And, you know, the first person greets me and is super. But it reached a point where I had reached her level of knowledge or
Mhm,
expertise and hers. And then she said, oh, I'll have you talk to this other next person up. It all worked out great, came to the counter or went to his office. Everything was hunky dory. He could have said, if he was a different kind of person, would say, yeah, boot her out, you know.
Well, no, but
Well, tell her I'm busy.
Yeah.
I mean, tell her I'm
I
busy
know.
or something like that.
That wouldn't be
and,
right.
But,
Yeah, super. Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's almost 20 to 4.
Right, so I think we need to, pick another meeting date.
So the next step on the job description is Aurora gonna take a stab? Is that what I
Yes,
heard?
at the
Okay.
summary and kind of just put together.
Thank you.
I didn't
And
take
I'll,
the final notes on what, like Kathy and Judy were saying.
willingness.
I got that.
Okay.
Mhm.
Oh, and that your sentence, oh, yeah, that's perfect, in my opinion.
So, yeah, I've got things to line out. I'll do an update on this document again.
Mhm. And I would
You can
just,
see where we're at.
I
I've
would,
gotta be somewhere at 4, so I'm gonna have to leave like in 2 minutes.
Let's
Okay.
pick a date.
Let's pick a date.
Okay.
Thirtieth?
Are we into January?
Yes,
Probably, right?
yeah, I'd like to take some time off.
So today is a Monday. Would you like a Monday, the 6th, for
Sure.
example? Same time?
2:00.
it's okay with me.
Okay, good. And then we'll keep going.
Okay, great, we're getting
Uh,
close.
We have to get, thank you, Kathy. I understand you have to go. We just have to do public comment.
Okay.
Monday, January 6th at 2.
Mhm.
Hi Pam, go ahead, please.
Hi, thank you. I missed part of the meeting, so apologies for if some of my comments are overlapping what you've already discussed. Do you want this manager to be the face of Scio Township? Is he the main go person, he, she? And some other comments, based on some of your interaction, skilled at public interaction, skilled at problem solving, skilled at time management, skilled at contract negotiation, skilled at thinking outside the box. Thank you very much. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. There's no other, public available.
Okay, so can we have a
Motion to adjourn.
all in favor, say aye?
Aye.
And nobody's opposed. Thank you. Good.
Thank you,
Good,
everybody.
thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Thanks, Kathy.